our favorite myths to bust on today's Fed Pilot.
Welcome to Fed Pilot, where we help make federal retirement benefits understandable for humans like you. Oh boy, so many myths to bust, and we can only do so many, but we're going to do our favorites today.
Awesome.
Do you have a favorite you want to start with, Cassie?
I have a whole list of favorites because realistically, I just love helping employees or really their advisors understand how things pertain to them, right? Exactly how it's going to work for a specific situation for that employee, and really giving them the tools and resources they need to do what needs to be done to make sure that they can own their future, right?
Okay.
So I love just getting people the truth. But there are a couple of things that it's like, that's not exactly how that works.
Okay, give us one, a good one, a good juicy one.
Okay, a good juicy one is, well, there's two, but we'll say when people retire, right? The timing of their retirement. So it's the last of the pay period, the last day of the pay period, or the end of the month for FERS employees. Obviously, we know CSRS can do the first 3 days of the beginning of the month, but it's the date of which they retire. And this is so important. And it's really been coming up a lot lately where employees think it's good to go out on the last day of the pay period. And I understand how that could be true because they want a few hours of annual leave or sick leave being accrued on their next check. However, I don't think they realize the consequence of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you get this a lot in your workshop.
I know it. I heard that. Wait, I heard that the last day to retire, the best day to retire is at the last day of the pay period. Isn't that true? And I'm like, yeah, not so much. Why don't you explain why that is?
Yeah. So if somebody, we'll say a FERS employee, for example, because most everybody is within a FERS program. Okay. Right. And if you retire on the last day of the month, then your pension begins accruing on the first of the following month, which means if I'm going out February 28th, that's the last day of February for this year, then my pension begins accruing March 1st.
Right.
But if the end of the pay period is on March 3rd, and I decide to go out on the last day of the pay period, again, my pension does not begin accruing till the first of the following month. So I'm waiting till April 1st when my pension begins accruing, and I'm losing out on, gosh, what is that? 28 days of my pension accruing. So that's almost a full month.
Right.
So I'm giving up a whole month of a pension almost for a few extra hours on my pay period.
In fact, let me switch that around a little bit. What if they waited, instead of the 3rd, they waited to the end of the month, last day of the month? Then it's not only 28 days of a pension, but it's 28 days of full pay, plus still accruing annual leave and sick leave during that time. So that's even more at that point. Does that make sense?
No, I guess I'm not really following you. So what do you mean by?
Go ahead. By what?
What do you mean by leaving at the end of the month? That's what we want them to do.
No. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry, maybe I didn't explain that right. Let me back up. Go backwards, and then we're back here again. Okay. So let's say that instead of the end of the month, they did the 3rd, like April 3rd, like you said, right? They do April 3rd. You said they missed out on a month, or let's say 28 days of their pension accruing. Well, let's switch that and say, actually, they missed out on 28 days of being paid full salary.
Yes.
Right? Which is going to be more than a pension. And they missed out on accruing sick leave and annual leave. So there, Sarah, I hope I explained that a little bit better.
Yeah. No, that I understand. Sorry, I'm picking up what you put down now.
Okay. So that just makes it a little bit more. Oh, you mean a whole month of being paid? I don't get. Oh, but you're right. The rumor is you do it the last day of the pay period. Now, let me ask you, I've heard what I understand as to the reason why that people hear that and accept it. Where does that rumor come from? Do you know?
I mean, it could come from an article on somebody who thinks they know what they're talking about as far as,
Sure.
you know, I mean, there's so much information out there, right? And maybe people don't understand what an employee is giving up by going out on the end of the pay period. Maybe somebody was actually looking at an article that was explaining the end of the pay period versus the end of the month, but maybe the person didn't finish the whole article
Oh.
or whatever. Maybe it was
That's a
better
good
for somebody
point.
to go at the end of a pay period rather than at the end of the month. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then they just said, well, I'm doing this because it increases my, you know, annual leave payout or whatever it was best for them because they were financially able to go out. Maybe it was a couple of days before the end of the month or something like that. You just never know a situation,
Yeah.
right? And I have no idea where this rumor started, but that is a
Well,
rumor that is
I'll
out there.
I'll tell you, I have heard that some people say HR told me that this is what I
Mm,
should do. I should go out on at the end of the pay period, right? And so that's one place that and I would not be surprised if it also came from blogs or, you know, from an article or something that says that as well. Like you said, I could absolutely see that. But if it comes from HR, when people say that, I say, okay, why do you think HR wants you to do it at the end of the pay period? And the answer is because it's really easy for them. They don't have to
that's
prove it.
right.
They don't have to figure things out. It's just what it is, and they're done. And right, and they're now again. I'm getting on HR a little bit, and that's not true for all HR, but that has come from HR, and I have heard that directly from them. So that's just one piece of
Right.
it
And maybe they just don't understand the consequences of why
for the
that is on the
employee. Yeah,
pension side, right? Because HR is only dealing with employees, the employment while you're in service, right? So
right.
maybe it's not just because it's easier for them, but maybe they simply don't understand how the pension begins and when it starts accruing and all of this. And so they think, oh, yeah, it's best to go out the end of the pay period. And
Right.
they don't realize that they're
Yeah.
giving misinformation. I mean, that could be, it's awful to say, but HR is somewhat ignorant in certain things, and that's why it's important to get, you know, your information from credible sources. And I'm not saying that HR isn't a very good source of certain information, but when it comes to retirement, I wouldn't hang my hat on HR because they are there for employment purposes,
Right.
not for retirement counseling. I'm sorry.
Correct. Spot on. And oh boy, that could lead me to another rumor, another myth buster there. Okay, you know what? I'm changing my myth just from what you said because I want to hit that, and it's something that people don't realize. Um, the benefits that federal employees receive, they're excited to keep into retirement. However, and that's the myth, right? The myth that they can keep it into retirement. Well, yes, a lot of the benefits you can keep into retirement. But the question is, should you? Because those benefits are actually made for employees. They're not made for retirees. For example, your FEGLI is made for employees. It's really not made for retirees. Your TSP is made for employees. It's really not made for retirees. Now, can you keep it into retirement? Can you keep both of those into retirement? Absolutely, you can. But it's not made for retirees. It's not
Right.
made to really help them and get them going. It is for employees. And part of it's because as an employee, they have some responsibility for you. That responsibility, you know, coming back to the last episode, some responsibility for you. When it comes to retirement, they give you what they give you automatically, and they really don't have any responsibility for you beyond that. They don't care.
Well, and it's
You're
not even that
gone.
they give you what they give you. They just make it available, and employees make their
Yes.
decisions, and then they just kind of roll with it and don't realize the consequences that are actually happening. I mean,
Right.
if it is so interesting to me when I look at employee pay stubs and people don't realize that they're paying hundreds of dollars for their FEGLI benefit while employed.
Right. Right.
right? And because
What?
there's two, and because most of the time there's two separate line items for those, and sometimes more, for those deductions. And then when they add up, they think, oh, I just see my Fagley on here. Well, what about your optional coverage, which is what is actually driving your premium, right? And so
Yep.
it's
Yep.
it's those little things. And so absolutely, people have this misconception that, oh, I've got the benefits, they're there, they're going to carry me through retirement. They don't understand the costs involved with those choices later on in retirement that drastically change, because with Fegley, the government stops paying their part. They're not going to help you with any part of it anymore.
Right.
Um, and
And
then, go ahead.
I was going to say, not only the cost, which you're spot on with, but also the restrictions. Things change when you retire. The
Right.
rules aren't the same,
Absolutely.
right? For example, your TSP, you think, oh, I saved up all this money and now I get to use all this money. Well, I'm going to do a little spoiler thing here for our workshops, but you only have access out of your TSP to your TSP money in retirement at most 12 days in a year. The other 353 days, you can't touch your money. So,
Right. Right.
Wait a minute.
Absolutely. So hold on. I was actually getting that. And let me just take that one step further, right? Well,
Okay.
I'm not going to take installment payments. I'm going to annuitize with the government. Well, that's all well and good, but you are giving up that control of your money to the government, because then they enter into the policy with MetLife, not you. And so you have given up your money to the government, and whatever you put in place is what is in place. You cannot change.
Period.
You cannot. There is nothing you can do with that money after that, except collect it on whatever choice you made for whichever annuity option was available or that you thought was in your best interest, but may not actually be in your best interest, right? And so there are so many limitations that I think people don't realize, and that's just the withdrawal options, right? What about the investment options that are available within the TSP? Why do you want to limit yourself to that when there are so much more that you can do with their money moving forward in other vehicles? So absolutely, I think that is one of the most misunderstood, those are very two misunderstood benefits within the program, that they think people are just, oh yeah, I'm going to keep whatever I have in retirement. They don't realize there are other serious consequences to doing that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was actually expecting to get to more Mythbusters, but I think that's all the time we have for that. We're going to have to do more of these Mythbusters, because not only are they kind of fun, but they're crazy educational. I mean, there is so much behind this to make sure that it's being done, everything is being done correctly. So as always, come to one of the Fed Pilot workshops. Okay. Oh, go for it.
Not only come to the Fed Pilot workshop, comment below on myths that you hear.
Oh, great idea. Yes.
In your agency or from other employees, that if you want to know what the truth is about something, upon that water cooler talk that you hear all the time with your coworkers, comment below, so that way we can actually make sure that we're getting you the right information on how something works.
That's great. I love it. And you know what? I think next time we do this, I'm just going to get a phone number that someone can just text it to. Just, oh, there you go. And just have it done real quickly too. Because maybe someone's listening to this on a podcast, right? And they can't, they can't just, go on YouTube right now, or Facebook, or the other platforms we have it on as well. I can't do this. So, okay. So I'm going to do that. That's my takeaway for this. I'm going to do that. Thanks, Cassie. This is fun. Awesome. I enjoy it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.